Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Subculture Live. I am your host, Sammy Joe, and tonight I have Alan Kay. We might be having some technical difficulties with Chris. He was in his car and he was having a hard time logging in, which, you know what? It's live. Sometimes that happens, and we are not in the location that we plan on being at the time. Of all of this, but we are going to reschedule because he's going to be talking about the WPA, the World Physique Alliance. This is an organization that they are resurrecting, and he is he's taking the lead on this project. So we really want to hear what he has to say. Alan, how are you tonight?
I am swell. I am a little disappointed because I definitely wanted to hear some of Chris's perspectives, especially on a topic that you and I are very privy on, which is how to bring back, I don't know, popularity or emphasis towards the natural bodybuilding community.
Yes.
Um, but like you said, I mean, we all have our schedules, we all have our things, and well, things happen. So here we
Yes.
are. Oh,
Here
here
we
we are.
are.
Now everybody gets to hear us talk instead. Lucky them.
Lucky them. So, you know what, though? One of the things that I went over to their website, which is in the works, right? They're getting ready to launch their website, but I'm just going to run this text on the bottom here. This was one of the things that I pulled off from their website, which is something that we can chat about tonight. It said their
Okay.
focus is on unification within the drug-tested physique competitions through, and this is the part that really sparked my interest, obviously sporting events, charitable activity, and community outreach. So between
Hmm.
those three things, I really feel like that is where we need to go to expand natural bodybuilding, because before we went live, that was something that we were discussing, like how
Hmm.
do we grow this sport, get it in front of more people. And I know I have a lot of ideas and I haven't shared publicly because um, they're ideas that I want to put into motion before I share them. Um,
Ooh.
but,
Okay.
I think really it all comes down to networking, right? And I
Hmm.
feel like that's why this is a great place for Chris to be at the head of this organization, because I think he has a lot of those networking opportunities from the business that he runs, the BPI, right?
Hmm. Yeah. I think this is definitely a very important conversation because I do feel like a lot of the mainstream bodybuilding, as well as the cultural influences, or sorry, excuse me. Yeah, the cultural influences that like drugged bodybuilding has on just even outside of bodybuilding, is definitely something that we need to talk about more. Like for example, I train with my older daughter's boyfriend. He's a 17-year-old young man, very, very bright young kid. But as we're training, one of the first things he asks is, how do I step on steroids? Should I get on roids? Should I doing this and this? But I'm noticing, that is the common approach amongst people in that generation, as
Mm-hmm.
well as men in my age, in my generation, that are now starting to flirt with the ideas of TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. I definitely think that, more conversations about competing naturally should come at the forefront for sure.
Right. You're exactly right. So basically, his question isn't should I or shouldn't I? It's when should I do it and how should I do it?
Right, right, and then I think that's the scary part. You're exactly right. It's not should I. It's when I am going to do it. And now we're getting into this culture where, especially with social media fabricating, glory on a 24/7 basis.
Yeah.
We have these societal pressures for someone to be someone, and something, one of those first things is that our physique. And a lot of these kids I'm starting to notice are, well, if I'm going to end up getting on there anyways, and I'm going to get to this point, might as well do it now. And it's like they would much rather just peak out while they're in their 20s or even in their 30s, and then say the F it for the rest of it. For you, Sammy, what have you seen with regards to the impact that, like, drug bodybuilding and everything has?
It's the this is the problem, is that is mainstream. That is what people see. That is what the younger people see. We natural bodybuilders, we're not. And when we are, we're getting laughed at because the people are picking like the white, scrawny, skinny guy on stage. That's what will go viral, right? That is not natural bodybuilding, right? We know that, but the general population does not. I don't think they're getting in front of it and not seeing it enough, which is really what my Subculture Live platform what is for. It's to live stream natural bodybuilding for free for the masses. Even if that's just the friends and the family and the coworkers of the people competing on stage that may have not even had the opportunity to go to a show. Well, now they're at least able to see it for themselves on a live stream and say, at least have connect with natural bodybuilding in some way. So if it does come up, if bodybuilding does come up in a conversation, at least they are a little bit more educated and they can say, you know what, I've seen natural bodybuilders. This is what they really look like. And this is some of the things that they can achieve naturally.
Yeah, I definitely am very encouraged by what you say because there's definitely like you said, the mainstream standard is that of being on some kind of drug, some kind of steroid. And it's at the point where we think that that is the only way to get to our goals. And if I were to be really, really honest here, because for me, I've only been competing for about 2 years. And before that, I was just your everyday kind of working out here and there. And had I not hired a coach, had I not signed up for a competition, and had I not actually got myself geared towards getting ready for a competition, I too would have thought that the only way to get to my goals is through using some kind of supplementation. And that's kind of why I am very skeptic about it. We live in this culture where we got to constantly diagnose something, that we have some kind of an issue that always, if we have a cold, we have to have cough medicine. If we have a headache, we have to take aspirin, and nowadays, if you ever look at how the TRT and the supplementation that is starting to be propaganded, what they're targeting against now is like, oh, are you a man in your 30s that's feeling depressed, that's feeling anxious, that's feeling nervous, that's having slow metabolism and all these other things? Like, well, it's because you have low testosterone levels and therefore you should get on that. And it is starting to become scary because not everything is a result or a default to low testosterone. Like, what about eating better? What about working out better and more efficiently? What about sleeping better? Like, let's start taking care of all these other things that start taking care of our overall health before we start immediately, devoid responsibility and start making it the responsibility of a supplement to get us to where we want to be.
Yeah. And this isn't just a supplement. This is a hormone you're putting into your body.
Yes.
It's going like all the way to the top, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? And when we start messing with hormones, so let's say you are going through depression. Let's say you are going through a bout of nervousness and anxiety. And now you're seeing all these ads that are like, hey, the reason why you're doing this is because you have low testosterone. And let's start putting this, TRT, this hormone replacement into your body. Hormones, anytime you alter them, they literally mess with your emotions. And if you're having an emotional imbalance with how you're handling your life, having something that's going to provoke you to be more emotional isn't the remedy for that.
Right.
It's actually rather the opposite. It's rather getting into what it is about that situation that you don't feel like you're performing optimally. And once you've exhausted every single way to go through it, then maybe, just maybe, you start going into supplementation. So
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This brings me to another sort of parallel. I don't know where I saw this. You know how we get flooded with all kinds of reels and this and that and the other thing, but I did see this. So it was about, smoking companies, tobacco companies back in the day, right? They were making tons of money. They started buying up like snack companies like Nabisco and all of these other companies. Well, now you have tobacco companies who are genius marketers, right? Now marketing to the younger generation now they're marketing and making snacks, right? And then you get these kids, somewhat like addictive. I think sugar is extremely addictive. You get all of these people, children addicted to these sugary snacks, dyes, all this other stuff that's awful for us, right? It's terrible for us. But isn't it? It's just so now we deal with big farm, right? Big pharma. They're in everything, right? They're buying up everything. They're involved in everything, and I think that consumers need to open their eyes to that and just go in slow. Like you said, holistic. That's never an option. Even my own husband laughs at me. He calls me a hippie because I always want to try things a different way. And medicine isn't always my first option. I always want to say, well, let me try this. It could be anything. It could be breathing. It could be stones. It could be herbs. It could be oils. It could be all these different things. It's like, well, let me try to heal my body in a different way before I just jump on, some kind of medicine. And I don't know, maybe I am a hippie, but you see what I'm saying? I wish more people would be that way. And I've had success in a lot of different things and remedies that I've tried. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I wouldn't recommend them to anyone else, but I do my research and it's trial and error, right? It's not going to hurt me. A lot of these things are very natural. So I say, it's worth a shot, right?
Right.
Because I was very sick for a while and I didn't want to jump on hormone replacement or any of those things. I wanted my body to work it out on its own. And I just, it's a problem right now, I think. But, back to bodybuilding, I think that like you said earlier, how do we get it more mainstream? How do we get people interested in competing in our sport? One of the things that people say that with drugs have always been there. Let me just put that out there. I grew up in a gym, so I think the first time I was offered steroids, I was only 17. I was young. I was super young, but I said no. So, but now with social media, that's the problem, is it's just so much more prevalent. Like people are just seeing it.
Right.
But it's always been there.
Right.
But how go ahead.
So real quick, sorry, let's also not discredit the fact that there are real cases where people actually need testosterone. People actually need that therapy because some people are actually insufficient in their levels. And research upon research has shown that healthy levels of testosterone and healthy levels of your hormones are absolutely necessary for your body to function. So I just, at least for the audience, I want everybody to understand that me and Sammy are talking about the abuse of these said substances,
right,
or those situations for which you're using one of these substances and then you decide to compete in a natural bodybuilding competition. And that's kind of the more funny, interesting situations, to say the least.
And that's been the center of many conversations. I feel like last year that came about many times, and you always have people on different sides of the fence with that as well. Especially as your older gentlemen who truly are taking TRT for the right reasons. And then you just have maybe some younger people abusing it, or what appears to be abuse. So some organizations are just like, fine, you know what? We don't take it regardless. We're done.
Right.
But that's a result of it being abused, unfortunately.
Right.
And everybody loses in the end. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder.
And I don't have an opinion one way or the other.
Well, I have it. All right. So I'm not opposed to it as long as you're taking it for the right reasons, right? Like if you really are finding a deficiency in your health, like for me, for example, I am in my mid 30s, starting to become a ripe old man. And, but with, I can't deny that I hate even saying this, but the older I get, the recovery times are a little bit longer. Things are a little bit more sore than usual. The strength gains aren't as significant as they used to be. And now I'm not saying I have a deficiency by any means at all, but I could definitely see, like, let's say if I'm on the same pace that I'm on and I'm feeling, I don't want to say decline, but definitely, aging naturally as I'm supposed to, 10 years from now, if I could find a real reason why I could get on it, I don't think I'd be opposed to it. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of research that supports healthy levels of testosterone. I have a few friends that actually needed, testosterone, and their lives have benefited, greatly. But they're also not in the point of where they're competing in bodybuilding and they're not doing shows. Like I said, my biggest concern though is not exactly men that are using it in our, 30s or 40s. It's not really the fact that it exists. It's just how people take it as like a normal thing. Like we talked about earlier, kids thinking that they need to get on it if they want to get bodybuilding results. People constantly default to it just for the, the vanity. They don't actually do it for the real health reasons.
Right.
Um, and it's just, and that's just more, it's just another example of how people constantly just want to go to some kind of supplementation instead of just kind of accept where they're at and accept responsibility for that in its entirety.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I know. I agree. And so what I'm going to switch gears here.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on now? You have competed in the OCB. You are fairly new to natural bodybuilding. Do you know how many natural organizations are actually out there? Do you
Well,
have like an
honestly, the
idea?
OCB was the only one I knew of, and until we're about to interview Chris. So
Okay.
that's a second one. So how many are there?
Oh, wow. So there are, right off the top of my head, I could probably think of 7 or 8 that are fairly active, but
Hmm.
I think on paper, there's like over 35 different natural organizations like worldwide. Like
Jeez.
there's a lot. So that was one of the issues that you could see that was on their website was unification, right? How do we
Hmm.
unify our sport because it's so fractured? So that's one of the things I'm really excited to list to 50. It's 54, Martin said. There's 54 natural organizations. Yeah.
54.
Now,
Why so many? Like,
why so
God,
many?
God,
So
that's sorry.
how it's ridiculous, right? So right, because you think of the other side of bodybuilding, you think of the NPC IFBB, right? You don't think maybe GBO, right? But that's it. um anyway, back to what I was saying is how do we unify it? How do we get all of these organizations to work together, or not all of them but most of them, some of them? So I really want to hear what Chris's ideas are as far as that is concerned. Aside from saying we'll accept other organizations, athletes, or pros, most of the organizations already do that. But I
Hmm.
mean, truly working together. But it all comes down, if people ask me this all the time, I say it always comes down to money and power, right? People aren't willing to flex one way or the other when it comes to either of those. So I don't know if there is an
Yeah.
answer.
I feel honestly, well, I feel like you just kind of hit it right there on the head in the beginning is unification, and there's 54 different organizations. Like, why do we need 54? Like, as it is, I'm in a physique setting. I'm lucky to get maybe 12 or 13 competitors at most at any type of natural bodybuilding thing. So now that we have 54 different organizations that do that, I mean, I think that's one thing. We just reduce the amount of organizations, but that'll definitely take the organization and the athletes to work together to figure out how do we create a super division per se? Like, how do we create an IFBB or an NPC or an Olympia
Yeah,
equivalent?
yeah.
So I think by getting rid of 54 of
See,
them and into a lot less, that's a start.
that's one of the
I,
things I love about having these discussions with you is because you are kind of green to the sport. So you're able
right.
to look at it with a fresh pair of eyes and no bias. So I love that.
Right. Well, I see that's the thing is, right. So I don't consider myself a bodybuilder, right? I love lifting weights and I look trying to look pretty in front of the stage with those weightlifting, right? This is just part of my fitness journey. And this is kind of the space that I'm in right now. So therefore, when I look at these things, I look at these things objectively, like what brings popularity to a sport, what causes cultural movements, and I think that if
Yes.
we like, let's say we had one big event, like the Olympia, like the Olympia has for all of those athletes. Let's say we had one big event like that for a natural bodybuilding competition. There are just as many athletes, in my opinion, that compete and lift naturally as there are like the people that are all juiced out. And the common approach when it comes to like the people that are Mr. Olympia, the people that are these bodybuilders, there's 260 pounds, 3% body fat. I don't know of too many people that actually thrive and strive to be looking like that, you know. And this is no offense to anybody that's a Mr. Olympia, like, but like this most recent one, I'm not trying to talk trash about the guy, but there are people that will never want to get to that result and they can't even relate to it. So
Right.
like if we can create more popular venues while highlighting some of the more natural achievable physiques, then I think we can raise the popularity of it because it becomes more relatable for the athletes.
Right. So right now, a few of the end of the year shows, we do have the Mr. America, which is a large show that does accept all of these natural athletes from other organizations, and they're working always on creating more hype around it. Right. It's actually like a fitness expo as well. So there's a lot of other things going on besides the bodybuilding, right? So you're bringing in some of the general population that might be there to see other things. They're there, they can see the bodybuilding as well. I think that is maybe something like what you're referring to. Now, I have a question from Martin. It's cut off a little bit here. He says, giving you a slightly different position, I don't think we need necessarily to get rid of organizations. We just certainly need to get more people wanting to compete. And then I think the organizations will diminish. I think that was the end of his. Yeah, I would love to get more people to compete, and I think the best way to do that is to uh, market or reach out to people that are already active or already that are currently drug free. So we're looking at collegiate athletes, right? That I think is our biggest pool, because get them into it. They might not want to compete necessarily right away. But they're never going to lose that competitive edge. They're always going to want to compete. I think I travel around. I talk to a lot of people backstage. I've been to a lot of shows, and I think that's the majority of the people that I talk to are former athletes. At some point in their lives, they were former athletes, and they just miss that desire to compete. So we need to let them know that and most of them are trained, right? Most of them were in the weight room. They were doing some type of resistance training for whatever sport it was, whether it was injury prevention, whatever it was. So they can take the knowledge that they learned during their time as an athlete and they can apply that to bodybuilding, and they can feed that need for competition, and they can develop a new skill. Right now, bodybuilding, you need to learn the posing, you need to sculpt your body a little bit differently. So there's some value in learning something new, learning a new craft, but at the same time, filling that void. That's my opinion. I think those are the people that we need to market. Like I said, they might not compete now, but maybe in 10 years, 20 years. We just need to plant the seed, get them involved somehow. That's my opinion.
I think honestly that comes down to those events. Like if we can honestly I don't know what the experience has been like for you, but I'm still a noob to this industry. And the majority of the shows, all two of them that I've competed in, there wasn't that big of a crowd. And it's always like a ginormous stage setting, but you
Yeah.
also notice that every single weekend has about like it seems like 4 or 5 different OCB events going on. So could you imagine had we just had like one OCB event? Like, for example, everybody knows when the Olympia is going on that you have to go to Vegas, and it's an entire week of just great things that are happening in Vegas. So like, let's say we had like, I don't know, the OCB. I don't know how to say it, right? Great emphasis on those words right there, on those letters. But like in every single OCB annual event, it's going to have every natural competitor show up, maybe in some place like Vegas, maybe some place that's lively. And the more that we glamorize that event with as many athletes as possible, I think that's where we can bring popularity to it. Like, oh my God, there actually are a lot of athletes. This sport is popular,
Right.
and I know definitely between the average person in the gym can tell when someone's natural or when someone's not. And there
Right.
always, in my opinion, there's a reluctance between those people of wanting to go into that drug world. But there's so much pressure and thinking that's the only way to get there. But if we popularize a natural approach and we popularize some of these events, I think that's where we'll find the popularity and the increased popularity of
You're
our
right.
sport.
You're like I said. I love this because you're so new to the sport. Of course, I know that the OCB does have their flagship show, the Yorton Cup, and they do a great job marketing it and attracting quite a few pros. It is well run, right? It's a well done show. We have the Mister America at the end of the year. We have the USBF United States Championships. There are some big shows where that's what they're trying to do. So I think you're right. They need to
Mm.
continue on that trajectory and each year bring something new. Bring something new. My friend Daryl DeVore, he's in the comments and yeah, he said organizations sometimes confuse quantity over quality. I agree with that, Daryl. But with his show, he has had a show that's continued to grow every year, and I'm fairly involved in helping with that event because I do the
Good.
live stream. And we have a huge announcement, kind of in the line of what you're saying. We have a huge announcement that we're going to be making here in the next week or two that is going to set his show apart from some of the other events that are going on. But again, it's all about creating that buzz and that excitement and drawing people in and people wanting to be there and people wanting to watch. So I have ideas. I can't announce it tonight, but I'm going to be announcing it soon. And I think as long as as long as promoters continue to do that, right? Continue to outdo themselves every year, and we'll see some good. I think that the sport has grown immensely since I have gotten into it. I have seen so many positive things. I know we sometimes hit on the negative, but I've seen a lot of positive things. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Well, first of all, I want to highlight the fact you did your typical, like, I have a secret, but I'm not going
I'm
to
not
tell
going
you
to tell
approach.
you.
I'm not going
I'll
to
tell
tell you,
you.
like,
I'll tell you.
God.
I'll
Oh,
tell
yes.
you.
Oh, after this, huh? Yes. All right, cool. Privileges. Um, yeah, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I was just more of like, what the hell were you trying to keep from me? Damn it. Anything else? Oh man. But
But the thing is
hmm.
too, like we pass this on to our children as well. Like I grew up around bodybuilding, so that's why I just have a love for this sport. My son, he is now going to the gym with me. He goes probably 3 days a week. We go to the gym, and I don't force it on him. We make it fun. And you know what? I am pretty confident from this point on, the weight room will be part of his life for the rest of his life. He can walk into a gym now. He feels confident. He knows what to do. He has good form. He gets like gym jokes now. Like he's one of us. You know what I mean? He gets
He's one of us.
everybody's like fist bumping him when he walks in. We always take a picture at the end of our workout. He likes to do a most muscular and a bicep so that we have like a little progression. We go into this one room. Somebody was in there. He's like, Mama, I don't want to go in there. He was embarrassed. I look in the room. I was like I call him a kid. He was like in his late 20s. I go, Zach. I go, he's a bodybuilder. He's some type of, I just say it, right? He doesn't know. He's a bodybuilder. Go in there. He's not going to say anything. He's not going to think you're weird. So Zach goes in, and he's super embarrassed, and he does his little bicep. So the kid jumps up. He was stretching on the floor. He jumps up, and he photobombs my son. and and he's like, dude, he's like, how old are you? He's like, you're jacked. He's like, you look so good. And he starts talking to him. And it made my son's whole day.
That's
But
awesome.
that's the kind of stuff that you have to break down that wall. Like, don't feel uncomfortable. The gym is it's a place where you're gonna make friends. It's now his comfort zone. And I think a lot of us have to do that with our friends and our family and our children, keep breaking down those walls, and then that will eventually lead to them being comfortable, seeing results, and possibly getting on stage one day.
Yeah, let's hope. And kudos to you for passing that on to your kids. I
Yeah.
can't get my daughters to work out to save my life, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But I mean, hey, at the very least, I got one of their boyfriends to hit the gym, so that's
That's
one
it.
out of two. I
That's
guess. I guess
awesome.
that's a yeah, but yeah, that's interesting. No, but you know what's funny about that? I feel like when people actually start feeling confident enough to take selfies in the gym or pose and everything, that is a process, and I think that's part of the process. Is like, oh my god, someone's there. Someone's going to be, then after a while, you're like, hey, can you just take a picture of me, man? Thanks. Appreciate it. Like, can you make it look like, is this candid too? And then every sudden everybody has their own, approaches. It's
Right.
like, have you heard of the Alpha Elite gym that's in Texas?
Oh no. Hey, I want to say hello, hello.
Hello.
Um,
No,
s-
so
no, I haven't heard of
go
that
ahead.
one in Texas. Go ahead.
No, so they have that one of the influencers that works out at that gym actually had one day where he went through how many selfie sticks were going on at one time. And it was like 15 or 16 in a gym, just selfie sticks. And people are actively using them. And you're just like, oh, all right. So like
I
one thing that,
know.
something that used to be taboo, like taking photos in the gym
I
and
know.
flexing or whatnot. Now it's just like the norm. And it's almost like, hey, unless you flex and you post that on social media, it never happened.
Yeah.
So that's almost like what we're at these days with it.
I know. I know. And the craziest part is when I was in the prime, when I was competing, I have no footage. I have no pictures because that just wasn't. It's just what. It's not how I'm wired. When I'm at the gym, I'm there to train. Um, never, never once. A couple of times. I probably have like 5 videos of me at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So the point where I actually hired someone to do like a little mini documentary of myself because I wanted to get some footage, but I knew I
Mm-hmm.
was never going to do it. So we took a couple of days, we went to the gym, I worked out, we trained, and those are up on YouTube. But I wanted to document, right? I wanted to document that moment because I know as a bodybuilder, we're not going to look like that forever. So I wanted to be able to like freeze those moments in time with video because I obviously love video, as you can see, like vodcast, which I'm really
Mm-hmm.
sad that I didn't get to run all of the stuff I had planned for tonight with Chris. But this is impromptu, you guys. We did not plan on talking tonight, so.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We plan on someone else talking, just sitting here
yes.
nodding our heads. Yes.
And
Yes.
with Chris, that's
Yes.
exactly what would have happened. I had planned on him just taking the reins and telling us all about his ideas for the World Physique Alliance. But yes, um, it is funny going to the gym though and seeing all of the cameras and this and that set up.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think of it this way. It used to annoy me, but now I think of it. You know, these are kids that are possibly marketing themselves or working their social media accounts, and I'm okay with that because that's where we are now. No matter what your business is, you
Yeah.
have to market yourself on social media, and it's always changing and evolving. And kudos to them for staying ahead of it or current with it. So
Yeah. I'm a lot like you where I'm still not used to it. And if you see me post a selfie in the gym, that was a very forced selfie. Like when I'm in the gym, a lot of what you just said, I'm just focused on lifting. I'm just focused on my own self and then focused on the inner voices that I have going through my head while I'm lifting. Never in there am I like, you know what? I should take a selfie. Like
yes.
nothing ever says that. I mean, I do now, but it is so forced. And you can even tell, like when I'm taking these selfies, my face is like, what face am I making? Like, do I look hard? Do I smile? Do I grunt? Am I supposed
That's
to be
so funny.
squatting? Should I be mid rep? I mean, I feel like I'm maybe overthinking these things, but um, I guess maybe it's an art. There's an approach to taking a proper gym selfie.
No, not
No,
at
there
all.
isn't. No, not at all. Some people have some really good selfies, and some of the things, like some of the people that I work out with, I've seen their Instagram, like, wow, you don't look like that in person. but the selfie does. So I mean, look, there has to be some type of at least optimal approach to a
That's
gym
right.
selfie.
You're right. And it's probably post editing. That's probably
But
where they're
that's
they're
true. The
shining.
filter, yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe we should create an episode, the 5 best ways to Photoshop our gym selfie or something.
So, really quick, I do want to say thank you to Miss Martin for sending me some stars on Facebook. And I want to thank Daryl DeVore for sending me stars. You guys, that is huge. It means a lot to me. Alan, I just started this feature. And, as a creator, we do put a lot of time and effort into everything that we do. And so, those are great ways for my supporters to say thank you. So, I
That's
appreciate
awesome.
that. Yeah, very
That is
cool.
awesome.
Very, very cool. Well, Anyway, so next week, what is on your agenda for your segment? For your what do we say, 5 to 7 minute segment? That is going to be the shift of the week.
The shift of the week, yeah, the Subculture Lives shift of the week. We talked a little bit about it today with regards to TRT, but I definitely wanted to dive into it just a little bit more. So next week we are going to go over kind of what I had prepared to at least
Sure.
discuss it, and with regards to cultural impact, and then I guess in the future ways that we can make natural bodybuilding more competitive and more fun, more popularized. That's definitely on the horizon for sure.
Yes, yes, and it is. It's moving slowly, but I really feel like it's moving in the right direction, and we're bringing new people into our fold every day. So good stuff.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be again like, we have an entire generation of young men that are just all juiced and geared out to bodybuild. That's just kind of my biggest fear,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah, well, my biggest fear having a teenage son is he's working so hard. He eats right, he trains hard, and he's going to see in the next few years kids getting on gear and possibly passing him in strength and size. And I have to make sure he's mentally
Mm,
prepared for that, and he understands why we do what we do and the impact that it's going to have on them later in life versus him staying, on this road of natural. So those are the things I think about because it's reality. Once he gets
right.
into high school, these kids are going to start jumping on stuff and
Yeah,
he's going to lose
it's
his edge. And that
it's
stinks when you've been
crazy.
putting in this much work.
Yeah, it's actually crazy too that high schoolers can even have access to this kind of crap. Like it's just, oh
You know what I,
man.
you know what I call that? It's the double income families where the money is there and the parents aren't.
Oh, right.
We see a lot
And
of crazy things in these communities.
yeah, well, you know what? And here's the ultimate thing that nobody ever really talks about too. At the end of the day, regardless of who you got approved by, regardless if a doctor prescribed you this, regardless of anything, you are ultimately responsible for your own decisions. And regardless even if things are FDA approved or whatever the hell approved, you are still responsible for whatever you decide to put in your body. So keep in mind, no matter what you do, yeah, you are ultimately responsible in some dynamic or another. So
You're right, Daryl. Gear does not surpass genetics and hard work. And that's what I keep trying to tell Zach that let them do what they're gonna do. You have great genetics, and he's a hard worker. But it's frustrating because I know they're gonna either, you know what I mean. The gap is gonna close, and it's not gonna close for the right reasons. Hello,
I
Ronald.
believe in him. I
Yeah.
believe in him. I believe in him. He's got it.
Yeah,
He's got
yeah.
it.
I'll send you a picture when we get off because I don't think you've seen my son. He's a beast. You will not
No,
believe you see him.
I believe it. I believe it. Hey, I believe it 100%.
But yeah, so this was fun, and we will reschedule with Chris, and his will be a short, information packed episode. I am certain of it. And I want to thank you guys for listening in tonight. I know we didn't have a set agenda, but it's always fun to connect with you guys. And next Wednesday is my birthday.
Oh,
So I
nice.
was going to ask Alan, would it be possible if we could do this on Thursday?
Oh, yeah. Right on the spot live. Sure. Why not? Thank God we
Well,
talked about that one before we hit live.
well, of course not. But we do have an interesting guest, somebody who sometimes throws out some controversial topics and always speaks his mind. I'm not going to announce it, but we do have a fun guest next week, and I have already worked out his schedule, so I know he'll be available, and hopefully you will be too. But yeah, it's Valentine's Day, then it's my birthday, and so then we'll do our podcast on Thursday, and then so after
Right
this,
on.
what time is it? Okay, so it's 9:10. At 10 o'clock, for some of you, if you're still watching, I am a bodybuilder, right? And I do Subculture Live. But guess what, guys? I'm also a stay-at-home mom and a homemaker. What? Really? So after this, at 10 o'clock, I do my Amazon Lives. And basically those are fun. Those are me basically talking about all of the things that are my favorites. home decor, fashion, live streaming equipment, whatever it is that I feel like talking about on that night. And I definitely go over all of the deals. All of my favorites, I let you guys know when they're on sale so that you guys can pick them up and try them out. And of course, everything that I have purchased, I've used, it's tried and true. So you know you're getting something worth the money. But yeah, those are fun. I love doing my Amazon lives. I get to get in front of a different crowd. It's not necessarily fitness or bodybuilding. It's just like moms and dads and just like a different crowd. But if you guys are interested, you can hop over to my Amazon page and check it out.
Hell yeah, that's cool. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So like everything I use in my studio, I have on my Amazon homepage. I have links to everything that I use, all of my equipment, so people can see what this is all about. It's really more than just a phone and a microphone.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, you're going to be making a move and you're going to be creating a new studio space in your new house. So I'm excited to see all of that come together.
I am too. I definitely am. And I guess this is the right time to also announce that because I am 13 weeks away from my competition, I've decided to actually create this journey into a vlog and a thing that's going to be like a weekly basis. So you guys follow me on allenk.health. This isn't going to be like your typical, like, hey, I worked out this morning. Hey, I ate. Like, no, this is kind of going to go into the meat and potatoes of what bodybuilding means for me and all the other things that I've went through in order for bodybuilding to be a remedy. So that's what I'm really excited about producing and showing in lieu of that new studio we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. So you're going to have discipline because that's going to take like a little daily devotion of one-on-one, right? Like a
Yeah, I mean, I already do a really good job of looking at the mirror and talking to myself. So I mean, what that's not going to be that much different. Kidding slightly. But yeah, it'll for sure take some discipline. I
awesome.
mean, but everything that we do already as habits and bodybuilding
Yeah,
is discipline. So just
you're
another
right. You're
another
right.
measure.
Cool. All right. Well,
So
I'm looking forward to that. So everybody, where can they find you on YouTube?
on YouTube is a Shift EQ podcast with Alan K. And you could find me on Instagram at allenk.health as it is annotated in the screen right here.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to sign off and we will be back on Thursday night at 8:30. Everybody have a great week. And it's Super Bowl this weekend, correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Go
So
Chiefs. I take the
everybody have
Chiefs
a,
over the Eagles.
yeah, I hope everybody has a fun and safe weekend.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye, guys.